Welcome to our trade show's Solutions and Strategies for 2024 webinar. My name is Zola Zermenio. I'm a solutions consultant here at Cvent. Just to go over a few housekeeping items, on the right-hand side, you'll see some engaging features, our chat as well as live Q&A. Please feel free to chat, ask us questions as we go along. On that right-hand side, you'll also see documents from today's presentation. We encourage you to download them. On the line with me, I have Charles Conway, Principal Solutions Manager here at Cvent from Jifflenow. Hey, Charles.
Hey, Zola.
Also joining me is David Mitchell, Senior Director of Event Solutions.
Hey, Zola.
Hey,
Charles.
How's it going?
Great.
Awesome. Excited to be on the line with you both today and diving into Jifflenow as well as iCapture. Let's talk about what we have queued up for today. We're going to dive into our tools here. First, Jifflenow. Charles will take over, walk us through a few case studies. Then we'll look at iCapture, a few ways that teams are utilizing this powerful tool for on-site lead capture. I'll take over, we'll look at a demo of the two tools, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. All right, Charles, are you ready?
I'm ready. Thank you, Zola. So what is Jifflenow? Jifflenow is a meetings automation platform. And what we're designed to do is make scheduling and managing your meetings very easy at trade shows and corporate events. So not only do we solve the scheduling problem for events teams and salespeople, but we also add an extra layer of insights into your meetings activity. This way, before, during, and after the event, you have a 360-degree view on who you're meeting with, what sales opportunities you're talking about, and this allows you to measure the return on investment for your meetings program. Jifflenow's advanced reporting capabilities help you integrate data from Salesforce and other sources to really give you some good insights into your meetings program. So when I started Jifflenow 14 years ago, we only had 2 customers. At that time, the entire concept of automating the process for scheduling meetings at corporate events was only a few months old. Not too long after, I had my first on-site visit with a prospective customer, a major microchip manufacturer in San Jose. After being greeted in the lobby, we made our way up to a private room on the 2nd floor where the events team was planning for the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, their 2nd biggest event of the year. We had already met a few times on WebEx, and my contact had shared how difficult it was managing the meetings program. Late nights, countless emails, and the uncertainty that human factors bring into the equation when using spreadsheets. But I didn't really understand what they were going through until they explained what was pinned to the wall behind the boardroom table. It was a spreadsheet, 8 feet tall and 10 feet across. There was a step stool there too, so that the top rows were reachable. That giant sheet represented the calendar availability for hundreds of executives, subject matter experts, and salespeople. It was also the source of truth for the availability of meeting rooms, demo stations, and other locations available at CES in January. It was their job to make sure that every cell on that sheet was accurate from the moment the show began until they packed up the booth and headed home. We signed our 3rd customer that day. And when their events team arrived in Barcelona for Mobile World Congress in February, their biggest event of the year, that spreadsheet was a thing of the past for them, and it still is to this day. Fast forward 14 years, and the spreadsheet is still a meeting planner's worst enemy. While Google Sheets and O365 have moved the spreadsheet into the cloud, the manual processes that go with it are still a major obstacle. SiriusXM is a great example. When we met with them in 2023, they were looking for a way to improve their process for the Cannes Film Festival. Their pain points were very familiar: constantly checking emails, uncertainty about the accuracy of the schedule, and both the delays and errors that come with manually updating spreadsheets. Coming into Cannes 2023, the team had a relatively modest goal of 75 meetings. How did they do? Through automation, they were able to book over 225 meetings. As a bonus, having all of their data in Jifflenow allowed them to easily create reports and analytics to have insights into their customer meetings not possible using a spreadsheet to manage the calendar. Certinia is another company who realized their dependence on Google Sheets was holding them back. With 24 meeting locations to manage at Dreamforce, they were in need of a scalable solution and one that didn't require training for the salespeople who need to schedule meetings with their customers and prospects. Like many teams using Sheets, Certinia was looking for a solution that gave salespeople the autonomy to schedule on their own and provide real-time availability to help with ad hoc meetings on site. Jifflenow Salesforce app was a perfect fit. Not only did it allow the sales team to access Jifflenow right from Salesforce, it also provided an additional layer of reporting insight into the accounts and contacts met and the sales opportunities advanced at Dreamforce, their biggest event of the year. David, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk with all of you today about iCapture. iCapture exists to help marketers drive more pipeline from their events. With iCapture, your teams can capture, sort, and deliver leads to the right place in your systems, to the right team members. So gone are the days of spreadsheets, scribbled notes, piles of business cards, and arrived is a simple, easy, and consistent way to capture leads at all of your events. With iCapture, you can improve your lead velocity with one streamlined app that works online, it works offline, it works on Apple, and it works on Android devices. You can drive more qualified leads with customized lead forms that meet your reps in the booth where they are in their sales process. And of course, you can track the return on event spend. It is important to be able to quantify how are our events performing. Now with iCapture, you can do that. We like to say here at Cvent that iCapture is easy, consistent, and connected with your systems. The goal for Truckstop was to understand their event picture. How were their events performing? Who were they speaking with? How were their team members performing? And who were they capturing along the way at their events? Truckstop was able to take iCapture and deploy it across all of their events, bringing their own solution to every trade show, conference, symposium, and networking event in order to capture, sort, and deliver their leads directly into Salesforce. Truckstop struggled before using iCapture to quantify their event spend because they were using rented badge scanners, spreadsheets, piles of business cards. They had a hard time telling the story from a data perspective. And after they brought iCapture in, they were able to say, hey, here's our 5 or 10 really high performing events. Here's our 5 or 10 really low performing events. And now we can figure out where we want to spend our dollars, where we want to deploy our additional dollars, or maybe make some changes and tweaks. And we can see who our top performing team members are from show to show. Another great example would be Shure. Now, Shure completely redesigned their entire trade show booth around the use of iCapture. So as we look at this next case study, Shure was able to move all of their booth traffic through their booth in a streamlined way that revolved around their lead capture. Now, some of you may know Shure is a leading audio microphones, really, but audio production company. And they sell both to consumers directly and they sell to businesses directly. And so in their booths at some of their largest trade shows, they were able to reconfigure their traffic around the use of our lead capture solution. So by deploying the iCapture app with all of their team members, they have everyone in the booth now capturing leads, and they have the flow streamlined to the left and to the right. Consumers going one way, of course, the more business side going the other way, and they have different lead forms represented in the app. So no longer are they trying to guess who are they, where do we need to send them, sending them all to the same place in Salesforce or Marketo. They're splitting their traffic with 2 separate lead forms that are customized to their audiences and destinations. Again, the whole goal for us is to capture, sort, and deliver the leads to the right place so that our teams can work them with relevant follow-up. Zola, over to you.
Excellent. Well, David and Charles, thank you so much for going through those case studies with us. Really appreciate it. I see some good questions coming in through the chat. Let's now dive into a demonstration of the product. So first, we're going to look at Jifflenow, which is the tool that your team will use to schedule meetings before and during the show. We're looking at Jifflenow within the tool, but note that we could get your sales team unlocked to book these meetings within Salesforce. There is a Jifflenow Salesforce application. All right, so I'm wearing my saleswoman's hat. I've logged into Jifflenow. I see the two shows where my team has a presence. I'm going to move forward with setting up a meeting for SemiCon West. Really is as simple as me clicking this request a meeting button. This is our sales demo environment. So we're seeing a few examples of meetings here. We've got a general meeting, a demo, an executive meeting. For your team, this might be more simplified, maybe just one or two. Notice how as I select my meeting type, it's dynamic, the fields change. If it's a demonstration, for instance, I can select what product, what service we'll be demoing on site. On the back end of Jifflenow, what our team can do is map different experts to different topics. So we can make sure that as we move forward with booking this meeting, the right people are there to meet with that customer, that prospect for that meeting. Next, I'm brought to this calendar view. So this is my 3-day presence at that event. I can look at this calendar. There's a few different ways that I can schedule. Maybe I'm on the line with my prospect, my customer, and they say, "Hey, Zola, we really want a private space." I can select meeting room 1. You'll notice how the calendar that I see in front of me has changed dynamically. I only see the spaces where meeting 1 is available. Or maybe I really want to be sure that my customer meets with Amy. She's excellent. They're going to click. If I click Amy's calendar, I'll only see times where Amy is now available. I could also do a combination, meeting with Amy and meeting room 1, only seeing the slots where both Amy and that space are available. This is one way I might book. I could also be on the line with my customer and my prospect, and they could say, "Hey, Zola, the only time that I can meet is actually on Thursday at 1. Notice as I select that time, the locations available to me have changed. Only meeting room 3 is available. And then the users, the internal staff that I have to support that conversation, have also updated dynamically. Amy's not available, Daniel's not available, but hey, David is. So let me move forward with booking this. I'll meet with David here. It'll be myself and David meeting with this contact on site. If I wanted to add any other internal staff, I could absolutely do that. It's going to share with me the staff that's available. Anybody who's not available will show as unavailable. When it comes to adding that prospect, that person on the other end of the line, really easy for me to get their information in here, their email, their first name, their last name. This list could also be updated via an integration with registration, maybe Salesforce. I'm going to meet with Max here. I met with him before, so I have his info. As I click next steps, I'm brought to this final page where I can confirm the details, the date, the time, the location, my internal attendees, my external attendees. If I have any last minute adds here, I can make those. You'll also see this dynamic form. This form can be customized for your team. Really, you can think of this as an executive form. This is where I can make sure that all of my internal staff planning to meet with that customer on site have all the details surrounding that meeting. The agenda, the industry, the close date, the revenue. I'll click submit here. What happens as I submit is a few things. I will get a calendar invite in my inbox for this specific meeting. My external contact, my prospect, my customer will also get this invite. Here's a view of what that looks like. It's an actual calendar invitation. Because I'm an internal staff member, I get this one. It is confidential. It's meeting information. You'll notice that it has those details that I filled in on that executive briefing. The agenda, the industry, the revenue, the close date, all of this really easy, really accessible for me to have right within my calendar view. Of course, that internal or external user also gets that, just a few less details. All right, let's switch hats here just a little bit. Now maybe wearing the hat of a meeting planner. Within Jifflenow, we have this global calendar, a few different views. One, I like this list view. I can filter this, I can change the visibility. I could also search. Maybe I was on the line with my prospect, wanted to see all the meetings they had scheduled. From this list, there's a few actions I can take. I can edit this meeting, I can delete this meeting. I could even go in and reschedule it, maybe check users in who had not yet been checked in. Looks like Amy here hasn't accepted. I could accept on Amy's behalf. Really giving your team the tools that you need to manage meetings and prepare for meetings on site. This is me making that edit. Maybe I was on the line with Max. He said, hey, Zola, actually that Thursday time is not going to work. I need to move to Tuesday. Could easily do this. Another view that we love within the tool, really helpful as you're managing the experience, is this master calendar view. So here within the tool, I can see a day-by-day breakdown of all of my staff. I'm looking here at July 10th. I could also look at the 11th. If I may be working hand in hand with an executive for my team, here's where I can see their calendar. I can see who has accepted the invitation, who maybe has not yet accepted the invitation. Anything showing as green on a user's calendar is something that they have RSVP'd yes to, they've accepted that invite, could even accept on Adam's behalf, turning that invite from yellow to green. So really easy to navigate this. Several visual cues so that your team has that pulse of what's going to happen on site. In addition to having that user view, we also have a location view. So this is a view of each station. Maybe I'm at demo station 1. I want to see all the meetings queued up for that particular location. All right, let's talk next about badge scans. What's really powerful about Jifflenow is that it can integrate with iCapture. So imagine I'm that meeting manager on site. I might be sitting at the desk scanning users. As I scan somebody who comes up with that scan using the iCapture application, I can automatically check that user into their Jifflenow meeting. I can also see meetings that they have later on that day. Let's say Brian walks up to my booth. I can scan Brian's badge, check him into the meeting, maybe even check in other users that I see around Brian, making this really easy, really efficient, really time-saving on site. The other powerful component about this integration is that I can scan users using the iCapture application. It'll pull them over here into Jifflenow. And from this, I can create a new meeting with those users. So let's say Morgan and Jason approach my booth. They did not yet have a meeting scheduled with my team. I can scan them. And from there, spin up a meeting. I'll click new meeting. Here I'm asked to select the type of meeting and move forward with booking that meeting. Really easy, really seamless, and certainly helpful as you're thinking about all the hecticness that is on site. Cool. Last but not least, what I wanted to share with your team within this Jifflenow tool are our dashboards. So we'll click over there next. Looking at the dashboard, I can see here really high-level stats on my team's performance at SemiCon West. How many meetings have I booked? How many inbound requests are there? How many invites do we have out there? Are we utilizing the room that we have booked for this show? Really helpful as your team prepares to go on site for the program or as your team is on site at that program. And then last but certainly not least, we do offer exportable reports within the tool. Here, your team can filter the information on that report and export it for your teams. All right. Please feel free to share some questions on this product within the chat. We'll transition now over to iCapture. All right, let's talk now about iCapture, or really your team strategy on site at a trade show. What will be important to your success as a team is that the experience show to show remains easy, consistent, and connected, which are 3 words you'll hear us use often to describe iCapture. In today's presentation, we're going to look at the mobile application that your team will have in the palm of their hands. I'll actually have you install this application if you'd like and play along in just a bit. But before we do that, I wanted to show this picture that I love. Here is our very active booth on site. We have a meetings desk where customers and prospects are checking into their meetings that were booked in Jifflenow. We also have lead capture happening all throughout the booth. We have sales members with the iCapture application within their hand. We also have a kiosk. So iCapture supports a fully branded kiosk. It lets attendees submit their interest, answer any qualifying questions. We also have a QR code. Users can scan that QR code, enter in their information. We see this maybe posted at booths, but also within presentations. So just bear in mind a few ways iCapture can help make sure that all of the lead captures that happen on site are in one central location, syncing back to your marketing automation platforms or CRMs. I invite you to install iCapture. It is that mobile application. You can find it in the Apple App Store or Google Play. or you can simply scan this QR code and install. Super easy to install this application. Feel free to do so. In just a bit here, I'll have you join one of our test events. This event is happening within May. So if you are watching this program after May 3rd, which is when my test event occurs, just know the code won't work. And that will make sense in just a bit here. But for today's presentation, or if you're watching this prior to May, feel free to jump in and play along. Okay. We're going to start this demonstration by wearing that hat of that sales user. And I'm on site at the program. I've installed iCapture on my mobile phone, and I've clicked to collect a lead. There are a few ways within the application that we support lead captures. One is manual, maybe a little bit self-explanatory there, first name, last name, email, company title. The other, maybe more popular forms of lead capture utilizing the app are via scans, barcode scans, or by taking a picture of a business card. We'll talk when we get to the back of house with how we support different badge kits in our tool, but you'll see it's just as easy as scanning that badge next time brought to that lead form. Or I could take a photo. I'm taking a picture. We have smart detect technology within our application that will pull in their first name, their last name, and their email. If our tool does not find an email, no problem. We'll simply prompt that registrant to enter in an email. Now, next up here, I'm seeing a form, and this form is something that we work hand in hand with your team to curate. All the questions that we're seeing on this form are very dynamic. When I select my audience member, it's going to change my form. Different questions based on new lead, distributor, current client. I'll also draw your eye to the right-hand side of my screen here. All of my lead captures are going to be integrated within Salesforce, my CRM, but certain lead captures will require that human follow-up, that human touch. If I've met with somebody and they have an urgent need, well, that shouldn't just be funneled into a marketing automation campaign. No, instead, really that person should have someone give them a call. If we've got the decision maker we're talking to, maybe that's not just sort of put into maybe the more generic email marketing campaign where it's fostered. Instead, it really needs to go to a sales rep. Okay, let's log in here. I am going to log in as Pam Beasley. If you are a fan of The Office, that name might ring a bell. I'll notice that in our backend system, a lot of this is Office themed. We're big nerds over here. We love The Office. I'm logged in, maybe switching hats now. I'm not wearing that hat of that sales rep. Instead, I'm wearing the hat of that meeting manager. This is where I can see really at a high level some key stats on my programs, how they're performing. It's also where I can jump in and create an event. We've got this calendar view. I prefer this list view, so I'll click over there. Again, you'll notice a lot of our events are very paper themed. I'll go ahead and name this Paper and Pencils 2024. So high-level details of my event are asked here: the name, the location, the budget. Really helpful as we look down the line to maybe associate leads generated to the cost of that program for our team. An event contact. We want to be sure at the Cvent iCapture side that we have a member of your team that we can reach out to if we need to. I'm going to click forward with creating this event, and it's going to bring me to the back end of my Paper and Pencil Con. Now, eventually, this is where my stats for this program will live, but right at the beginning of creating this event, I'm prompted to create that lead form. So I'm going to click to do this. I'm going to click to create that lead form to set up lead capturing for this program, for this event. Really, this is a 5-step process. First, I'm asked to set up the capture method, the badge scanning method for the show. So I'm going to move forward with enabling badge scanning for this specific event. iCapture supports over 120 plus providers. We can always integrate with others. Based on my selection here, the tool is designed to provide me the necessary fields to get this set up. For the purposes of today's demo, I'm going to select Custom Mappable Barcode. Once I save my changes here, you'll see a preview of the 3 methods with which we're supporting lead capture at this event: badge scanning, business card, and manual entry. Now, next up is setting up my integration. At this point of setup, you will have already worked with our team. iCapture has native integrations with all major marketing automation platforms and CRMs: Marketo, Eloqua, HubSpot, Salesforce. So when it comes to this stage of your setup, your team will have already worked with us to configure the integration to your liking: field mapping, lead routing, destinations, etc. You can utilize iCapture to send emails. We have a different email for new leads versus current clients. Totally up to your team. You can jump in, make edits to these. What's maybe a little bit more popular for some of our customers is that they are sending out communication via their marketing automation platform. I'll go ahead and turn these off, but no, you're very welcome to utilize them. Step 4 here, I'm asked to customize my lead form. We saw this lead form at the front end of the application. This lead form will become standard for your programs. Likely you'll have one, maybe you'll have two. But event by event, maybe there's a few other questions that you would like to collect. At Paper and Pencils Con, there's additional information, there's a change to the form. You can easily make that right here within that setup process. You'll notice, yep, this option to add a different question to the form. Totally up to your team here with making those last minute edits to that core form. I could preview this if I wanted to. Again, I could add that question if I had something specific I wanted to ask. And then my last but not least step here is to approve and lock this lead form. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to approve and lock the lead form. And next up here, I'm shown my install code. So if you were following along and installed our application, I welcome you to enter in this install code. Simply jot this down. It's DAC133, we'll put that in the chat as well. This is that code that your sales team would need to install this specific event for that attended show. So it's really easy for them to get in there. We have some documentation for your team to share with your sales team to get them in there, to get them familiar with the application. I'll go ahead and pause while you do this on your device. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask us in the chat. Now, last but not least, I wanted to look at analytics. So we have analytics both on the event level as well as the account level. We'll look at Paperpalooza, a show we attended in 2023. We have those high-level event results here. These cards can change depending on what your team needs to see when you click event results. We also get a little bit more granular with event activity. So here I can see there were 117 leads collected. I can get even more granular with a summary of the event, my team's performance, even the questions that were asked at that program. Who were my top performing team members? What were the leads that they collected? What were the questions that were asked? Who's the audience that we're talking to? Which products have the most amount of interest, and so on. Last but certainly not least, I wanted to show analytics on the account-wide basis. So here you can view via the last 3 months or all time. This is an all-time record of all the events that your team has attended. How many events have you attended? How many leads have you collected at those events? Really making it easy for your team to measure your performance at these trade shows. Getting a little bit more granular into an events overview here. Which events should we definitely go back to? Which events can maybe fall off of our radar? And then certainly, last but not least, we will show team performance. Who going to these shows is capturing the most amount of leads for our team. Well, with that, let's transition back. Well, before we transition over to Q&A, I've got a few quick plugs. The first is that if you'd like to earn a $100 Amazon gift card, please sign up to complete a demo with us. We'll pop that link into the chat. To any recipient outside of the US, the gift card can be converted from $100 to any other currency. We also have Connect coming up in June. If you don't know, Cvent Connect is our go-to annual event for event professionals, marketers, and hospitality experts. So please feel free to check out our agenda. And if you'd like to register, we just dropped the link to that to chat as well. Excellent. Well, let's jump over to Q&A. Fantastic. Hey team, how's it going? Hi, David. Hi, Charles. We've got some good questions in the chat here, both related to Jifflenow and to the iCapture tool, and some that are really applicable to both. Let's kick off with you, Charles, if you're okay with that. I'm seeing a few of these questions really specific to Jifflenow, which is that tool utilized to schedule meetings prior to a show. There are a few, a lot of them related to how this tool plugs into others, specifically
Great.
Outlook. How is that internal list populated? Maybe you can talk about the integrations at a high level with Jifflenow, Outlook, Salesforce. How do these tools work?
Sure. Yeah. So I can see some of the questions. So let's start with how Jifflenow works with Cvent events. So one of the great things about Jifflenow is that we do completely integrate with Cvent events. So the most popular use case is when folks register for your event in Cvent, Jifflenow can actually pull all those registrants into the Jifflenow system. So what this allows you to do is for your sales team, they can see which of their customers and prospects have registered for the event and very easily schedule meetings for those folks in Jifflenow. The second half of the integration is any appointments that are scheduled in Jifflenow will automatically sync back to Attendee Hub. So this is really great from a user or from an attendee experience perspective because when they're on site, when they pull up the Attendee Hub app, the Attendee Hub becomes the source of truth for all of their event activities. So they'll see any sessions that they've signed up for, any appointments that were created in Jifflenow, plus any other information that you'd like them to see as part of the Attendee Hub experience. Switching gears really quick to Salesforce. How does Jifflenow integrate with Salesforce? So we have a native app on the Salesforce App Exchange. So for those of you who have access to Salesforce and would like to visit our app in the App Exchange, you can see some details there. The installation of the app is fairly quick and easy. We will walk your Salesforce team through the entire process. And it usually takes about 2 hours end to end, and that includes the testing phase and moving into production. And of course, if you need any more information about the Jifflenow Salesforce app, please reach out to your Jifflenow or Cvent account executive, and they can help you with that.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. David, I'm going to queue one up to you next. Although, Charles, feel free to comment on this as well. But what do you do when your team is attending a trade show and they say they're using their own software, their own tools? How do teams, how do clients sort of approach that? What are some best practices there?
Sure, good question. So a lot of shows now have their own software and app or apps that they offer, and some of those are great. And as we all know, some of those are not great. And so that is why our two solutions exist. We fill in the gaps where we're talking about meetings and we're talking about lead capture. So the great thing about Jifflenow, the great thing about iCapture is you can deploy these two solutions anywhere, anytime, even if a show already has a show app or if they have lead capture that they're offering. One of the great things about iCapture specifically is that our application is fully GDPR compliant. We can help you maintain your GDPR compliance. We're fully SOC2 Type 2 certified, which means we are super secure. And we're fully customizable to your business process, your qualifiers, so you can take our solution and deploy it across every single show. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of technical nuances there. I'm oversimplifying it just a little bit. Happy to dive into that with interested parties who would like to discuss it further. Our sales team is happy to help. But the point is, yes, it should work at every show. You can take it anywhere in the world you want to take it. It works online, it works offline, and we do have multilingual options. So the good news is that yes, a lot of shows have good apps and a lot of shows don't have good apps, but you can use iCapture and Jifflenow at any of those events. So it's a great way to enjoy that consistency and really drive that return on your event spend.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Well, you're hot on the mic, I'll throw another one your way. And this one's maybe a little bit in the weeds, but when teams are working or going to a show, how do they get the information that they need for these barcodes? What does that look like for a team that maybe hasn't done this quite yet?
Yeah, thanks for the question there, Krista. So it's a little bit technical, but every lead retrieval company has what they call an API or badge kit. And a lot of the larger shows are going to offer that API or badge kit so that our systems can talk. The way that we think about that is our app is then able to scan, whether it's an RFID, a QR code, a barcode. We're able to come in and scan that by connecting with that show. So we have connections built with over 120 different registration and badge companies currently in order to be able to do that. In addition to that, we have the ability to capture business cards through photo transcription process that uses human verification. We have a 24/7 team that helps with that side of things. We can always do a good old-fashioned manual entry, good old-fashioned thumbs. And then, of course, we have a few other really exciting ways with some kiosks, some touch screens, and some other things that we can do to help your teams capture and sort and then deliver your leads.
Yeah, thanks, David. It's such a comfort. Being on the sales team here at Cvent, when I'm in the application, there really are those three methods. For anybody who's downloaded the app, feel free, if you've got a business card, go ahead and capture it. It's really impressive with how it identifies the email on that card, or if there isn't an email, we'll prompt that user to enter one in. Of course, that's really important as it comes to follow up. All right, Charles, I've got another one for you if you're game for it. And
Sure.
maybe you can speak to, at a high level, that calendar that we saw, that master calendar within Jifflenow. I know that teams are really impressed as they look at this calendar as managers are considering show-to-show management of their team, who's scheduled for what. Can you just touch on the use of that calendar? Is it show by show? How is that structured? What are some best practices when teams are thinking about that user who is managing so many shows, so many meetings?
Yeah, I saw that question. That was a super interesting question. So thanks for thinking that one up. But yeah, so the Jifflenow calendar, if you think about it, most events, in terms of Jifflenow, are going to be in different physical locations, usually different time zones, or often different time zones. So thinking about the master calendar, it usually is going to contain the executives and subject matter experts who are attending that particular event for those days, in that particular time zone. So there isn't currently a way to combine calendars that might span different, locations. But it is an interesting question. So, and there's also more than one way often to solve for these things. So even though Jifflenow, typically the calendar is event to event, we definitely should talk about your use case more with the Jifflenow expert to see if there isn't another way to solve for this problem.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. Appreciate that. Let's see here. I'll turn to this one, which I think is a good one, and that is maybe you, either of you, could elaborate a little bit on the importance of having a consistent tool, trade show to trade show. I know we shared some use cases of customers and how that's been transformative for them, but maybe just dive one step deeper with how that's helped teams that you both have worked with. Either of you could take this question.
Charles, you want to start?
You go. Yeah, I can go. So, I'm sure for anybody who works in the space, you have some concerns about introducing new tools to the sales team, especially. So, one is you want to make sure that the tools you're using are easy to use, and if possible, that you can take them to all of your events throughout the course of the year. So this really reduces the need to retrain for every event. You get some consistency, and you also get some consistency in other areas, like the way your tools integrate with each other and your internal systems.
I would also add that a lot of trade show marketers, one of the things that we hear a lot in the marketplace, hey, I have so many different tools, so many different things that I have to remember, so many different things that I have to manage. So one of the things that we see a lot with our most successful customers is that consistency piece. And when you are taking the same set of tools to show after show after show, to event after event, to conference after conference, your team understands it. They expect it. You don't have to train them on something new every time. You can deploy that with more of a lather, rinse, repeat effort. And we see, obviously, great results when we do that.
Awesome. All right, two other ones. This one just came in. It was regarding that QR code that I shared within the booth. So David, maybe over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so regarding iCapture in the photo, I believe Zola shared at the booth, there's a QR code on the wall. It appears that you can generate a QR code that attendees can scan, enter their lead information. Is that correct? Can that information sync?
Absolutely. Love that you caught that. That's exactly what that is for. So there's 4 different ways, 3 or 4 different ways that we can capture contact data. So we can capture contact data with a business card. We can take a photo of a business card or a badge. And I think I already answered in the QA in the chat as well, that if an email address is not present, the user will be prompted to enter that email address. We can also scan a badge. If it is a scannable badge, if they have a barcode, RFID, or QR code that we can connect with through that show, then we can scan that badge. And then there's the manual entry component, but then there's a way that we can serve up this, either a touch screen, so we can serve it up on a tablet or an iPad, so that your prospect or customer can walk up and enter their own information. Or as you've asked in this question with that QR code, now that's especially popular, where you're presenting one-to-many. So where we see this creating a lot of success for our customers is when you're doing your presentations and your breakout sessions, or you're leading a session, you are a subject matter expert at a show that you sponsored or that you are exhibiting at, or you want to put a QR code in your booth. Anyone can scan that QR code, fill in their own information on their own device, and that's just another great way for you to capture that traffic without kind of having to staff that, if you will. So we're seeing a lot of our most successful customers deploying that method at all of their events. It gives you another great way to capture your customers, your prospects, your partners, and make sure that those are getting to the right place.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Charles, this question has several upvotes, so I'll ask it to you, but maybe it's something we follow up with who asked, and is there a cost saving to using Jifflenow through our Cvent application versus going through Jifflenow directly? Maybe a tough one to put you on the spot here, but
sure. So I think the important thing to know for existing Jifflenow and Cvent customers is that Jifflenow is fully part of the Cvent family. So even though it may seem like you're working with your Jifflenow account executive or your Cvent account executive, we are all one product family. So whichever way you're more comfortable with, we'll always make sure that you have the right subject matter experts to get you the event tech that you need to support your events.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Charles. All right, so over to either of you, sort of as we look to wrap up here. Any advice when it comes to a team and as they think about deploying these solutions, these tools, how they might increase adoption for these tools? We've talked a lot about how they become this tool that is really consistent, that the sales team, the meeting managers become really familiar with using. But yeah, what are some words of advice, if you will, on how to increase adoption for these tools internally?
Well, I can start if you want, Charles.
Sounds good.
So I think we've learned a lot about sales reps, and we've learned that sales reps are creatures of habit, and they don't always like to change unless we show them the with them. What's in it for me? So we like to include that in our training with our solution, and we like to really help everyone understand how this is going to benefit sales, marketing, operations, everybody from soup to nuts, so that we all feel like we're going to win. And we want to invest in that training component. So as we talk about rolling out our solution, we want to make sure that there's buy-in. We want to make sure that there's happiness within those teams. And we have some really cool components within our launch processes where we involve those stakeholders and give them an opportunity to tell us, hey, what's important in what we're capturing? How do you know when a lead is good? Things like that really do more than just pay lip service to this process, but actually include some of our friends in sales and make sure that it's a collaborative process.
Yeah, I think you really hit the highlights there. Not only the what's in it for me, of course, which is super important, but also just kind of the why overall. So, bringing in a solution like Jifflenow and iCapture together, has benefits for the organization overall. Of course, for the salespeople who typically do most of the scheduling for events, it just gives them some autonomy to operate on their own. And for the attendees too. So that's important not only for the organization, but for the salespeople as well, is they want to give their attendees a good experience, whether it's ease of finding the location for their meeting or ease of checking in for the event or at the meetings desk. And so there's a lot of benefits overall for all of the stakeholders.
Well, fantastic. Charles, David, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure presenting with you both, learning more about our trade show solutions here at Cvent. Hope it's been engaging for all of those dialed in. This concludes today's webinar. This will be available on demand for you to watch, and feel free to reach out to our team here at Cvent should you have any questions or want to dive a bit deeper. Thanks all.
Thanks, David. Thank you, Zolan.
Thanks.